Ah, come on. Guys, please excuse the piss poor camera angle. I need to just stop being cheap and go buy a tripod or something to stand this camera or this phone on so I can video. Today, I cast up a bunch of wad cutters. I did a little casting for the 311 359 to see if I can get it to throw the right size. The project for today is fix the Kimber's guide rod. So the tabletop video I made, I forget what it was. I showed how Kimber's guide rod on their Eclipse Custom 2 and 10 is a 2-piece guide rod. And I noticed it was working loose originally when I bought the handgun. So I Loctited it, cleaned it off with brake clean, let it dry thoroughly, blue Loctited it, and it still somehow worked its way loose. So today's project is redo that with something a little bit stronger. Now, people have the common misconception that red thread locker will never come off, and that blue thread locker is meant for what's the best way to put it? Lighter applications, maybe? I don't know how to put it best. Blue thread locker is good for using if you want to take something out and put it back in and be able to somewhat reuse the thread locker on the threads. Red thread locker is good if you want to, like, say, restore threads in plastic that are slightly stripped, or if you want to put something in once and you're never going to touch it again. The problem is people have the conception that this stuff never comes off and this stuff is meant to come off easily. That's not true. With heat, these two will dissolve or dissipate the thread locker enough to release what you're using it on at, I think it's like 350 degrees. Now, whether or not the kimber gets that hot, or at least the guide rod gets that hot when doing so, I have no idea, to be honest with you. But the goal today is red thread lock these two pieces together after I clean them with brake clean, clean the mark off the tip, reassemble the gun, and I want to put another mark on here so when I go shooting Saturday I can actually see what's going on. So it's literally, I'm taking the parts and brake clean, and I can't spray over here because I got my nice heater going over here. So I'm going to just spray my parts, get all the oil out of the threads, like saturate them as well as I really can, put them over here on the tail, let them dry off. Now they should air dry quick enough. I usually overuse brake clean because it's not that expensive for me, because I can get it from work, or I have a large stockpile at work, or whatever it is. It's not hard for me to get it if I need it in small applications. Now what I usually do is I'll take a rag or something like that and just run it across the threads, inspect them, make sure there's no existing thread locker in them, which there isn't. There isn't. Alright. So, always make sure, like, my stuff sits around forever. I don't really use my thread locker out here that much anymore. Make sure you shake it up pretty well. People like to really glob this stuff on, which is not necessary. So, it's literally, this is probably going to put way too much on. You can see it running down the tip. That little bit right there should be, yeah, maybe slightly more than that. You only need like a drop of this stuff. You don't have to coat the entire threads in it. So a little drop like that is more than sufficient. If it doesn't lock with that little drop on this length of thread, now if you have twice as much thread, you probably need a little more. But on this length of thread, that little drop, see how it's soaking into all the thread right there? That should be sufficient. So we're going to take it and just screw it in like it's supposed to be. You can see it kind of... Oh, come on, focus, would you please? I guess the camera's not going to focus. You can see it kind of squeezing out in the seam here. I'm just going to take my rag and wipe that seam. That's all I'm going to do. Now, I'm not going to really crank this down. I'm grabbing it by hand and just trying to turn it by hand. I'm not doing anything crazy. You don't see any thread locker on the back side. It doesn't have to be completely saturated. Like, you don't have to dunk this in the bottle for it to work. You just need a very light application. When I'm done with my thread locker bottle, I like to tap it, give it a squeeze, make sure that the tip's clear, put the cap right back on it. If you don't put the cap right back on it, you just wasted a whole bottle of thread locker. So, I'm not, after seeing the blue stuff didn't hold, usually the blue stuff always holds for me. I think this is going to be one of those situations where temperature is the reason it's not holding. So, I'm going to try the right because I have it. I don't have high temp. I have self-wicking, but the self-wicking Loctite applied properly is for like press fit bearings, machine surfaces, stuff like that, and it's, I want to say like 600 degrees is a dissipation point where you can break threads free and stuff. I kind of don't want to go with the green or the red or something too stiff. If I need to get this apart, I don't want to change the metallurgy heating it to get it apart. So hopefully that's good enough. Now this stuff usually only takes a couple seconds to set up. Like I set it, it's probably been a minute or so. And it's pretty well set up now. Like I can't break it by hand. So the next thing I want to do is, because I was talking to one of the guys at work, I'm going to inspect this barrel bushing. Because anytime you machine a straight part like this, depending on which way it faces, they usually do it in some type of a lathe, whether it be CNC or hand operated. And what it does is it cuts, they have a tool bit and it cuts across this. So say, heck with it, I'll just get my bits out. Alright, so this is exaggerated because this stuff obviously isn't the right size, but they use a bit in a hand-operated machine. They use a bit similar to this, and what it does is it usually comes up to the material and it cuts from one side to the other. And you might not be able to see it because they use a correct feed rate and speed so that it gives you a nice fine finish, and sometimes they polish it with sandpaper or stuff like that. But there's always a grain to the cut, meaning it's slanted one way or the other. I can't see it on this part. I'm sure if I put it under magnification, I can figure it out. But their feet per minute and the speed on this, I think, was so fast. They actually have a really nice machine finish. My concern is the bushing it goes in and it slides through. If there's a burr on this, and it's engaging that angle like a screw would to threads, every time you reciprocate the slide, all it's doing is grabbing a little bit and allowing it to turn that rod. And that's all it's doing. And I'm thinking that could be also contributing to why it's backing this guide rod apart. So I just wanted to look in here real quick and see if there's any burrs. Anything that jumps out and goes, okay, yeah, I could be an issue. And of course, I don't have. Well, I guess the best way, honestly, for me to do this is I usually, for burrs and stuff like on cavities of molds, you'll grab like a Q-tip. You drag it down the mold. If it catches and pulls fuzz off, then you get a burr. Well, I'm not seeing no fuzz on the inside there. Let's see if it grabs any out here. Now these parts do have a nice taper to them, or a beveled edge where they broke the edge real well. I don't know if it's necessarily that versus, I'm sorry, you're getting a good shot of my beanie. I don't know if it's necessarily this versus just the fact that that's how parts are going to run until they wear in and they get smooth enough to where they're not contacting and causing themselves to unspin. I don't like the guide rod unscrewing because I think it was causing problems with where the gun wouldn't go into battery when I first got it. So, Loctited that. no burrs on here with Q-tip, visually inspected. Nothing looks bad. So, we are going to do a real quick inspection. I just had this apart the other day to do the tabletop. But just to be sure, it's lubed up. Barrel looks good. My lovely 10mm. I love this gun so much. And I still don't have good light. Let's see if I can get my flashlight up in here and get some action so you can see down the board here. So that's like 100 and... Come on, I wish it would give you a little better lighting. That's like 100 and something cast loads. Nothing crazy. Slide looks all good, all that's good. Still not going to clean this gun. I want to run it. If it does what the Marlin did and starts choking on the last couple rounds, which I finally figured out why it did that actually, aside from the powder. Alright, so put this back in. Bushings in. Guide rod. Flip the link up. So it's, come on, man. This is why I need a tripod so you guys can see how, I mean, it's a 1911. It goes together just like any other 1911, but for anyone that's not had a 1911 apart, so you take your slide, bare slide, nothing in here at all, no barrel bushing in it. There's different ways that they do that with the barrel bushings. This is how mine's built. It also has a ramp barrel, so to me it's not a true 1911 like the 45s are that don't have a ramp on them. So it's link, goes down, goes in the slide, lock it back in, barrel bushing goes on, turns in, guide rod goes in from the back. I like to leave the link down, goes in from here. I like to leave this link down just because I can flip it up like that, and to me it's easier to not have to fiddle with it because I always knock it down anyway. So that stuff goes in. Now I do it a little differently than everyone else because I'll take this assembly right now and I'll just put it right on the slide. And sometimes I gotta fiddle with the barrel to get it lined up as far as rotating it to get it to slide back to, of course I didn't get it on camera. I need to get it freaking, oh man. So it just slides on, well now it's not going to, of course. It's supposed to just slide on, there we go. Slide on like that. And all you're doing is, there's two little cutouts. One slide stop, one's like a takedown cutout. This little takedown cutout right here. I see people all the time putting these slide stops in like this and rotating them up. And I'm not sure why. On mine, you just, the barrel link, you look through the hole, make sure the link's in there, lined up. Take it, line the little tab. Sorry, it's so hard to see. The little tab right here, you line it up with the little cutout on the slide. And you just slide it in. It's not that difficult. Run it forward, put the safety on. The spring. So the spring has two different ends. It's got a flat end, and then it's got an end that's just free cut. On these, I believe it's the free cut end faces down, so the guide rod bushing captures the flat end like such. And then it's literally, I have to do this on the table because this is like a 16 or 17 pound guide rod spring, so I can't do it yet and lock it in without using the case, but I usually get it about right there, and then I'll take the case to push it the rest of the way down and rotate the barrel bushing in to position. It's locked in, safety off, cycle it, everything looks good, make sure it's clear, pull the trigger, resets, reset, there you go, beautiful. Alrighty, so guide rod is locked in. Now, oh, ain't I lucky? I don't know if you guys are going to see it, but my mark is still actually pretty well straight up and down with the barrel. I made that mark so it was on the bottom portion of the guide rod, and it was supposed to be semi in line with the center of the bore. So I just remarked it real quick so it's there. If it moves a quarter turn anyway, then I'll be concerned. I know it's a little off center as is. I'm not super concerned with that. So that's all good to go. Got that guy rod hopefully done for now. Now, real quick, where are we at? 15 minutes. This is going to take forever to upload. Alright. I don't even know if you're going to see it. So I was looking at the Marlin. There was a problem where the loading gate was catching a bunch of brass, or scraping, I'm sorry, rather, a bunch of brass off my brand new Starline brass. I was looking down in the receiver and I saw what I thought was brass. I think it still is, but it looks like big chips of brass. And I'm not super sure that loading gate would cause big chunks of brass like that. I don't know where else they would come from. I did take the rifle apart and clean it, make sure everything was clean, because I was cycling some rounds through it in the house, just trying to get it, trying to figure out a couple different loads for it, like as far as overall lengths, to see what would cycle in the rifle. And I was running my 405s, which is where I was having the issue, and they kept jamming in the chamber again. Loaded in the house. So I looked in the chamber, and I doubt you're going to be able to see it on the video. Let's see if I can pull. No, you're not going to see it. So if you look up in the chamber, there's spots. And what I'll do is I'll take a Q-tip, and you can see this Q-tip is pretty well a brand new end. There's nothing on here at all. And I just cleaned this gun, and I know I'm not the best at cleaning stuff, but I'm literally just going to rub one spot if I can. I'm literally just going to rub one spot on this rifle, because I can see. Alright, so just one more time. Clean end, because there is a dirty end on this Q-tip that I've been rubbing. And I don't know exactly what this is from. I can't even see what I'm doing here. I don't think you're going to see that. I guess I cleaned most of it off originally. That little bit of black right there. I think I cleaned most of it off. There's a little dark spot where there's like lube or there's something in the chamber in this one spot, and it looks like it might be in like two other spots also. I can't tell what it is, and I don't have a bore brush for this rifle yet. Or a chamber brush rather, I'm sorry. So I haven't had a chance to really clean the chamber. I ran a bunch of patches and stuff down the bore to clean it out, but I haven't had time to clean the chamber. Aside from the Q-tips I was just using. These are my little house loads. These are the ones that shot really well. This is the 175 grain wad cutters. I tried them, loading them to a different height. I've actually been casting a bunch of them tonight because I love them so much. So I seed them. There's a little crimp groove right up the top here. I seed them to that crimp groove. I was trying to seed them to this little lube band, like the top of the lube band, and crimp them in there, but they don't feed so well on the rifle. So you can see how short they are. And they actually, at 50 yards, they were shooting extremely well. At 100 yards, I was ringing a 10-inch steel plate pretty hard with these things. So, you know, just Starline brass, brand new brass. I was really happy with this load. So, but aside from that, son of a gun, man, I always drop one. Aside from that, Saturday, I believe I'm going out to the range again. So long as nobody's there, I'm going to try and get some video footage and give you guys an idea of what this rifle is really all about. Hopefully it doesn't give me the problems as far as cycling like it did before. I think it'll be fine once I clean the chamber out. If not, I'll note it in the video and let you guys know what's going on. But thanks for watching. Try and stay tuned. This weekend I really want to get to the range and get the chronograph set up. Run some of the 10 and 45-70 loads over the chronograph and possibly shoot for grouping if I like the feet per second numbers. If I don't, then maybe anyway. We'll see. Have a good one, guys, and stay tuned.